Van Hollen, Maryland's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to both of our witnesses here today. And Commissioner Berrain, it's great to have a fellow Marylander here. Thank you for your work protecting the interest of Marylanders and your work at NAIC. And I also want to thank you and NAIC for helping me and some of my colleagues prepare legislation to protect seniors from financial fraud. The legislation is entitled Empowering States to Protect Seniors from Bad Actors Act, and it would provide an authorization grant program to the SEC to provide both state securities and insurance regulators with additional resources to crack down on fraud, which we know is a huge problem, $3 billion a year, at least in financial scams. Can you just speak briefly to the importance of passing this legislation to protect seniors from financial fraud?
Absolutely, Senator. We've been very happy to work with you on that initiative. I mean, there's probably, consumer protection is what insurance regulation is all about. And there's probably no more important area of consumer protection than assuring that our seniors are not subject to aggressive marketing tactics and to other fraudulent practices. So it's really critically important that we have all the resources available to assure that we are on the ground working with seniors directly to be able to prevent them from being caught up in fraud.
Thank you, and I'm going to take this chance to ask the chairman and the ranking member to join us in getting that bipartisan bill out of the committee.
Senator Van Hollen, we were just speaking about it quietly while you were asking.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask you a couple questions regarding capital standards in the context of climate risk. As you well know, an important role of a state insurance regulator is to monitor the capital adequacy of insurers to ensure their ability to pay their claims following catastrophic events. One of the concerns is that with increasing severity and frequency of extreme weather events, that the risk-based capital models may overemphasize the trends of older historical data and not adequately assess newer risks. So two-part question, Commissioner Berrain. What is the NAIC doing to ensure that its models incorporate the most recent and relevant climate data in order to reflect the true risks? And secondly, from a risk management and capital adequacy perspective, how important is it for insurance regulators to have standardized comparable data on climate risk?
So with respect to the first issue, I would say that what our solvency work stream is doing and what our E-committee is doing is working very closely in making sure that our models are accurate and are up to date, and we are adding additional perils to the RBC capital framework to assure that we capture more broadly the various events that can occur. So that's the first thing. And secondly, with respect to data collection, the NAIC has a rigorous process of data collection that we think captures what needs to be captured. And that is something that's subject to constant update and improvement. So we have, both on the individual state level and in the aggregate through the NAIC, the ability to capture data in a way that insurance regulators use that data to understand what are claims patterns and where claims are occurring and why and how claims are being paid and what the impact of that is on the solvency and the financial status of entities.
So is there an effort to create some kind of national standard so that states are not using 50 different standards for this purpose?
There is conversation through our Center of Excellence on the development of a single standard and being able to work through with insurance companies what would be appropriate in that regard. So that is a conversation that is occurring as to whether a centralized and standardized approach is the one that makes the best sense. But I want to assure you that in the interim, the data collection that occurs around natural disasters and in terms of insurance companies is very robust.
Thank you. Mr. Seitz, I don't know if you want to, in my remaining time, just comment on that, on those two parts of that question.
No, I would just say we share your view on the importance of consistent, comparable, and granular data. I think particularly for our office, we're looking at it through the lens of the availability and affordability of coverage, particularly in the homeowner's business line. And it's an area that we've seen a need for some national standards and approaches to.
Thank you. If you could just get for me, we've obviously seen a huge increase in losses, property losses, due to extreme weather events over the last couple decades. There have been a number of reports. If you could maybe try to quantify for me and the committee what the increased premiums have been as a result of increased climate risk. I realize that's an imperfect science, but I would like a ballpark estimate if you could get back to us on that. All right? Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Van